Buddy, this is the work session of the Mayor and Council, Tuesday, July 11th, 2017. The time is 6:30. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including date and time of this meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilman Alfredo is out as far as notice. Councilman Morloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Steve. Here. Councilman Domingo.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. Councilman Aguilera.
Here.
And Mayor Mignon.
Here. Can I please have a motion to suspend work session and go into closed session for the purpose of discussing litigation 711? Second. Roll call.
Councilman Morloni.
Yes.
Councilwoman Steve. Yes. Councilman Domingo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. Yes. And Councilman Aguilera.
Yes. Okay.
Alfredo is out as far as notice. Morloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Steve. Here. Councilman Domingo.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. Councilman Aguilera.
Here.
Mayor Mignon.
Here. Borough Administrator's topic. Item number 1, Temple Avedon Shalom Score lease. Do you want to speak there or do I need to?
Well, yeah, I think you've been involved in some of the negotiations, so I had put it on here just to remind the council that we do have the need to renew this agreement. Mayor, if you want to speak to some of the details and where you feel we are at this point.
Obviously, we've been doing this on a biannual basis for a number of years now. The Temple's been very accommodating and not increasing the fees as they haven't for the past few years. A couple of issues were raised by the members of SCORE. One was that they had asked for the time to shift from 9 to 3 to 8:30 to 3:30 or something to that effect. And the Temple was certainly willing to accommodate that. Another issue that arose is that we're limited to Mondays and Tuesdays, and when you actually look at the calendar, government holidays, secular holidays, and a lot of religious holidays fall on Mondays and Tuesdays, so it's pretty much preempting the use by the seniors, and for many weeks. I think I counted at least 15 weeks out of the year, which is a significant number. I had asked the Temple to give us, going forward for the next 2 years, all the calendar dates where there's religious holidays, and we threw it together, the secular and the government holidays, and what I had asked the Temple was if consideration would be given for whether in the weeks where they're closed on a Monday and or Tuesday, would they be willing to let the seniors go on a Wednesday and or Thursday or something to that effect. They haven't gotten back to me with a final answer on that, and what I told them I would do was that I would still recommend that the council authorize me to enter in the lease with a memorandum of understanding that they will work with us, that we'll come up with a schedule or some criteria for those other weeks to see if the SCORE people can be accommodated either that same calendar week or maybe a different calendar week, just so they have more time. So that's where it is right now.
Thank you, Mayor.
So
When does the lease expire?
in December.
So we don't really have to decide right now.
Yeah.
We can get back to us.
They seem,
They're looking
yeah.
for an answer.
But we also have, we have community center on
Yes,
December.
they understand that.
That's why we're just doing it for the year.
1 year.
Yes, but we can do year to year. Yes.
You would be signing a contract now that wouldn't go into effect until December or January.
We're authorizing the contract. Yes.
Next year.
The condition that we're asking for was never in any of the long-standing relationship we've had. He's never been there. This is something that we've asked him to do. They accommodate us all the time. I'm fairly confident if there's ability for them to let them go on other days, they will certainly, I think they'll accommodate them. But it's hard to write that into a contract because, so SCORE may say, or the Temple may say, we're closed Monday, Tuesday this week, and they'll say, they may not know today whether that particular week they can offer them for Wednesday or Thursday in that particular same week, or maybe it'll be the week after, the week before. I think that's something that has to be
Wouldn't the
decided.
language be that they're granted 2 days every week? I presuming it'd be Monday, Tuesday, but.
Yes, that's the way it's always written, but then if it's exempt or they're preempted, then they don't get to use it.
So they
So we're
they
trying-
don't give them the 2 weeks back, or they haven't in the past.
Correct. Yeah. And they're generally not there most of the summer either, right? Is that correct? Mary? They're not there most of the summer either? No. Anything else? Or- Do we want to wait, or what do we want to do?
Yeah, I'd love to see a presentation on the community center before we make this decision.
No matter what happens, we're gonna be using the temple.
Yeah, it's not gonna be ready.
It's not gonna happen in a year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That was to move the, contract.
Item 2, review of RFPs for utility audit services. Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. We went out to advertise on RFP for utility audit on June 5th. We received 2 proposals on July 6th. One was from Allen Rodo Consultants, and the other one was from Troy and Banks. I've looked them over. They're both responsive. They'll be referred tomorrow to the borough attorney for his review. And we provided copies for you tonight to take home and take a look at. And it's our intention to provide you with a recommendation at the August 15th meeting with the possibility of making an award if one of these meets our criteria. So that's where we stand with this tonight. I just wanted to report back as to the progress we're making on it.
Okay. Any other questions on this? If not, we will look forward to your recommendations.
Thank you.
We have our work session consent agenda, award contract to Cost Engineering for services related to the DOT municipal aid application, Bogart Road, in the amount not to exceed $5,000. Alan, do you want to explain this, or do you want me to?
Yes, we anticipate that the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation will announce their municipal aid application process in the near future. And in order to do that, we need some preliminary engineering work to look at the right-of-way, location of various things within and next to the roadway, to be able to make an application for the next round of funding. We are looking at Bogart Road from Route 4 to Howland Avenue to do replacement of curbs, sidewalks, and resurfacing of the street. And we would also like to look at changing the parking configuration to make it more efficient, to provide more parking, which would involve looking at the traffic flow, some safety issues, things of that nature. But in order to do that, we need the engineer to make some preliminary assessments and be able to answer some questions in that regard.
So the hope is that in some sections, if not all, we would be able to get some angled spaces, and generally for everyone on-street parking, you'll get 3 angled spaces, so we can significantly increase the number of parking we have in the area. But Mr. Costa has to do some survey work to see what the right-of-way is, to make sure there's no issues with regard to infringement on the private property, and that we have sufficient backing distances and things like that. That's why he's asking to do this preliminary study. And item number 2, approve to waive a portion of the police outside duty rate for St. Peter the Apostle Parish for the carnival on September 21 to 24, 2017. This is an annual request we get from a lot of outside groups requesting that when they do use outside officers for security, that the borough waive the administrative portion of the outside duty fee, and they're just responsible for the payment of the direct salary.
Correct.
If there's no questions on the work consent agenda, does anyone have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm not going to make a report at this time. We have nothing for our information, Alan.
No.
Unfinished business, River Edge Senior Community Center. I'll just have a brief update. The architect, or Mr. Costa's office, has completed all the survey work boundary and topographical survey information. He has forwarded that to the architect. He's incorporating that into his concepts. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the subcommittee will meet with the architect to finalize the concept plan, hopefully get a realistic and very tight probable cost estimate. At that point, if that's still in line with what we've been talking about in terms of potential budgets, then we'll have a presentation to the council as the next step. So hopefully that could be by the August meeting. Any other questions? Shade Tree Commission? Anybody have any comments or?
No.
Any other unfinished business?
Mayor, this, I don't know if this falls under unfinished or new business. We have the tree farm, which has been a concern for us. We brought it up and granted permission to our Eagle Scout, Matthew Haggerty, to, and I think about, what, 300 no, 60 or 70 volunteers, about 300 hours worth of work?
It's under 400.
Yeah, and what had happened was, a lot of the work had been undone due to natural processes. And so, I met with Lori Haggerty, and if the council is willing, I'd like to pull her forward to talk about this, so I can address this with the council as liaison to beautification and shade tree and DPW, and this would involve it. Would Mayor
Any
agree?
objection? No objection.
Lori, come on forward. So I'm going to let Lori just speak briefly after I, if the council has no objection, after I just kind of summarize our overview. So the tree farm, so there was an issue when I met with, last Friday, I met with Lori and Michelle Caridi, and I've had conversations with Liz Stewart. And while there at the tree farm, it was basically completely overgrown and inaccessible to a large extent due to the weeds that had grown up since Memorial, and Lori's going to talk about that. So there is some action that I took as liaison, and I asked John Lynch to come down and kind of see the situation and talk to us about options. John has taken some action, which I'll talk about in a minute. While there, we noticed that there was a rather dramatic erosion problem that occurred in the park between where we have made some remediation due to erosion and the tree farm, and I'd like to talk about that in a minute too. But Lori, if the council has no objection, we'll let Lori talk.
Dear Mayor and Council, thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you this evening. I'm here to talk about the River Edge Tree Farm. I have two main points I'd like to talk about: the maintenance of the farm, and in part Cherry Blossom Park on a long-term basis, and the removal of the redbud trees that I was told are not suitable as curb trees. About 4 or 5 months ago, this mayor and council approved an Eagle Scout project that my son Matthew presented, which involved the rehabilitation of the tree farm. As you may know, one of the main requirements of an Eagle Scout project is that the end result of the project is long-lasting. Once the project was approved by all of you, Matthew started planning his project, and over the course of about 6 weeks, Matt and his volunteers built the shed, cleaned all of the overgrown weeds and grass, arranged for DPW to pick up the piles of brush, painted the shed, and fixed the water irrigation system of leaks. In all, Matt and all of his fellow scouts, volunteers, adults, and friends spent just under 400 hours to complete the project. At the completion, my son asked the DPW, through Michelle Caridi of Beautification, to go in and spray weed killer at the footpaths and along the fence so the weeds would be kept at bay. I was just there on Friday, July 7th, and was heartbroken to see that you could barely get up to the gates without stepping through poison ivy, and the weeds inside and around the farm were now past my ankle, and ivy was covering a good portion of the fence around the farm. All of that time and work, and it appears as if nothing was done other than the shed being built. Although the tree farm and Cherry Blossom Park are owned by the town, there does not seem to be a plan in taking care of this open space area. I know that the farm and park predate this administration. However, my feeling is that this mayor and council approved my son's service project to rehabilitate the farm. Therefore, it seems that this administration is ready to see the value in the open space and what it can be for future generations. You all have the ability to oversee and make sure these two areas are maintained in a way that they will remain beautiful spots in town well after my great-great-grandchildren come to visit River Edge. I have some suggestions about what can be done, and I hope that you're all open to the possibilities. As we were all working on the project, I became familiar with some of the history of the tree farm. I was told that the redbud trees, which were a grant or a gift to the town, are not suitable for planting at the curb. This bit of information made me think, what can be done with these pretty trees in a farm that my son just spent all this time on? So I decided to make some phone calls. On Friday, I had 2 small meetings at the tree farm. The first was with Michelle Caridi from Beautification and Councilman President Tom Papaleo. We were later joined by Tom Lynch from DPW. We discussed the issue of the weeds and poison ivy and asked if Mr. Lynch would be able to at least mow the high weeds and then spray to keep the weeds down and get rid of the poison ivy. He agreed, but could not give us a clear-cut view of what could be done moving forward. So this first meeting ended with DPW saying yes to mowing and spraying the weeds by the end of this week. So for the immediate problem, we seem to have a short-term plan. And I'm happy to report that Mr. Lynch has already cleared all of the weeds and vines as of yesterday. The next part of the tree farm puzzle is what to do with almost 200 redbud trees that we were told are not suitable as curb trees. I was also told they cannot be sold since the trees were a gift or a grant. Well, I may have taken care of this if the mayor and council agrees to my proposal. The second meeting I had on Friday was with the Bergen County Director of Parks, Jim Cope, and Councilman President Tom Papaleo. After looking at the trees, Director Cope is confident that the county would be able to house all the trees in the various parks throughout the county. He also said that he would make sure a few were placed in Van Saun Park, right here in our own backyard. Director Cope said the best time to move the trees would be September or October, which means there is some time to plan what the next steps would be. The county is also aware that the responsibility of removing and moving the trees is all theirs. Director Cope said that after the donation was approved by the mayor and council, he would request a resolution from the Freeholder Board making note of the very generous donation River Edge is making to our county parks. I felt this was a very successful meeting, but the Director Cope had more information to share. He gave some great points on how to proceed with the tree farm, and that most tree farms act as a source of emergency tree replacement, but could also be used as yearly curb tree replanting. One last point the director brought up involved Cherry Blossom Park. Director Cope wondered why the River Edge School Board hasn't taken over Cherry Blossom Park to use as an outdoor learning classroom. This could be a great way to help maintain the park if the school agrees to use it in this way. If possible, I would be happy to work with this mayor and council to present this alternative to the River Edge School Board. So the first point, removing the redbud trees, can be corrected with the help of Bergen County. The second point, coming up with a real plan to make the tree farm all it can be is something I feel can happen with the help of all of you. The River Edge Tree Farm has the potential to become that insurance policy, if you will, for emergency tree replacement. The town would also have the ongoing support of Boy Scout Troop 2295 to help long-term, as the Scouts continually need service hours to fulfill. With a concrete plan, my son's Boy Scout Eagle project would become the starting point of bringing this tree farm full circle and making it a cost-effective and smart way for our town to maintain and replant our curb trees. I realize that all things take time and planning, and I am willing to help in any way I can to keep the ball rolling. I'm hoping that tonight, the mayor and council will agree to the donation of the tree to Bergen County, which will mean your support in the future of the tree farm and, in a way, Cherry Blossom Park. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Before we ask Lori to, go ahead, Mayor. Sorry.
Councilman, you could certainly lead the discussion if you like.
So before we ask Lori to return to the general seating, does anyone have any questions for her? I certainly have a lot of information and detail to fill in, but we asked your, I know that I asked your permission to allow her to speak during, while we're still not open to the public, so.
And I wanted to keep it short because the freeholder meetings you only get 3 minutes. I figured if I kept it to 5, I'd be okay.
Take note.
Thank you, Lori.
I have,
Oh, wait,
Sure.
sorry.
did you say we could ask questions?
Yeah, but it didn't look like anybody was going to do that.
And you didn't stop talking.
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
I just have one question. You said about Jim Coate asking why the Board of Ed didn't take, has he talked to them because his brother Michael
He
is
actually
on
made
the
a call, he made a call to Michael that day.
Okay, that's why I
And,
figured Mr.
um,
Good in there, so he probably knows that they will.
And we're hoping that they will, but I needed to make the presentation to all of you this evening before I try and present to the school board with Jim and Michael's help.
There's also limits on what can and can't be done there. It's Green Acres restricted, and so anything monetary, like, we can't enter into local and make them provide any monetary support. We can't make them provide labor support. It's just not permitted under the Green Acres rules, which is one of the reasons with tree farm, you can't sell the trees.
Right.
So that's a whole different issue. That's not to say that if they want to use it, they certainly should use it, because it's not getting used anyway, so they should use it for something. I think it's fine that the county takes these trees. There's nothing, unfortunately, but troublesome for us at this point, so if they can have a bigger benefit, they should. Going forward, I think there's a lot of challenges if that becomes a true tree farm. And it's a matter of, and the Council Capelano spoke about briefly, is about if it's shade trees and the Shade Tree Commission does not want any participation, then they have to not have any issues if those trees are used curbside. But then we also then need some estimates from Mr. Lynch about what level of effort he thinks it's going to take in terms of manpower and whatever else.
Mayor, I can address that, but I think Alan wants to get your attention.
I just have one question. It's not clear to me who would transport the 200 trees to the county parks and who would plant those trees.
It would all be the county.
They all be the county.
Yeah, Jim
County
made it very
realizes-
clear that
yeah.
there'd be no obligation on the part of the borough.
The only thing that Director Coates did say is that if Tom Lynch were in the area and wanted to lend a hand, of course he could, but the county realizes that to acquire these trees, they would have to bring all of the manpower to remove them from the farm and take them to where they would be ultimately replanted.
Thank you. And they would replant them.
Yes, they would,
That's why they wouldn't take them till September.
yes. Anything else?
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, just.
I will.
So, so to give the council, to reiterate the timeline so the council doesn't get confused about this, I had an email from, actually go back further, I had an email from Michelle Caridi, I think Michelle about 2 weeks ago. She was at a family event, a wedding, I believe, and she ran into the Paramus shade tree, and they had a discussion, and there was some interest in the cherry redbud trees by them. That person has a good relationship with Liz Stewart, and when she reached out to Liz Stewart to talk to her at greater detail about this, and Liz sent me an email, and I responded by asking Michelle to kind of reach out to Liz and talk to her about that. And I think they had a good conversation. And I've had a conversation with Liz and the Shade Tree, and I have asked them emphatically if they are good with whatever we do with it, and they have said yes. And the conversation I had with you, just to touch on that, would be, that this would not be, we're not building a farm to do 100-tree planting. We're talking about emergency tree replacement, which is what Lori Haggerty mentioned in her comments. So having given you that outline up to this point, so now we get to Friday, and as Lori said, I met Lori and Michelle there, and we were talking about what we were seeing, and then we also saw the erosion, and at this point I thought, why don't I call John to come down to talk about the tree farm and also to bring to his attention this erosion. So John comes down, and while we're there, John, I said, would there be an additional cost to the borough if we, and I said I was not holding him to it, if we had them clean it out and maintain it, and he said no, there would not be a budgetary issue. We would not need to be looking to put money into his budget items or anything about that. So at that point, John said that he could come in and do that, and he has. He did that yesterday, as Lori said. In addition to that, I also asked him, and I hope the council doesn't think I went beyond my authority. I asked him to turn off the water. The trees are all mature. They're not in danger of dying. They create a microenvironment, and they retain the water simply by their shading to a great degree. And since they need to be planted sometimes soon, because they're at the point where they can't grow past this and be viable to move because they'd be too big. And since Councilman Bartoloni brought up a very good point during the Budget Committee meeting, that we had a lot of water use. And so at that budget meeting, I had suggested that we reduce the amount of water, but at this point, I asked John to turn the water off, and he has done that. If the trees go into distress, of course, we could always turn it back on, but I don't think they will. So then we move forward a couple of hours, and now I'm meeting with Jim Coates and Lori Haggerty, and everything that you reported is correct, that they would be willing to do this. And I think there is, Michelle, some interest still in Paramus in some of them. Okay, so we have right now a tree farm that needs to be planted, and we have really not an abundant use for it. So then move forward to yesterday at 3:15, I met with Bobby Conway and John Lynch. And I also called Councilwoman Bastide as liaison to Rec because I wanted to speak to her about it. But she was not able, because of work obligations, to be able to be at that meeting. And one of the things that we, at this point, we talked about, well, are there any of the trees that we could plant? And Bobby said that we definitely would like 3 red buds for Brookside. And we would like, John and Michelle both felt that we needed, and Bobby agreed that we needed 3 for the embankment at Cherry Blossom. So that would be 6 red buds that we would not be giving to the county. And I don't think that there'd be a problem with that. At this point, so I'm just wondering, is there any objection to me having directed John to turn off the water?
No.
Very
And-
upset by it, but that's okay. I'll let it go this time.
And any objection to me asking John to, return the park to the state that our Eagle Scout had left it?
No, and I had that discussion with John, that he needs to at least do that amount of minimum maintenance at this point going forward.
So now we
just, yes.
So now we get to the next issue, how can we do that? Well, I had a long conversation with John about this. John currently has, and let me see if I can't find his name. We have summer help, and I can't find his name in my notes. And he is doing watering of the trees, Zach. And he's part-time, 29 hours, and his sole responsibility, because he's being paid by open space, is to go around and water our borough street trees. So I said to John, would 3 or 4 hours a week, if the council directed you to have him do some maintenance and attention to the tree farm, so that we didn't have to bring a whole crew of 4 in again and clear it out, to maintain our promise to our Eagle Scout. Would that in any way, and he said it was doable, it's not a problem. And it could be like 1 hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it could be 3 hours on Wednesday, where Zach would go down there and do some trimming, some weed whacking, maybe some herbicide, and so that the weeds won't grow. And also turning off the water, we were really watering the weeds. We weren't watering the trees, they didn't need it. So it was good we turned off the water, because that also should diminish the growth. So what I'm asking is if we as a council, I'm making a motion that we direct John to have Zach work approximately 3-4 hours a week or less.
I don't necessarily think we need a directive from the council, but if you want to just say that we believe that the tree farm should be maintained and leave in John's judgment that he's going to utilize this person.
You good with that, Alan?
Yes, yeah, that should be left to the superintendent to allocate his resources.
Yes, I don't think.
Excellent.
So,
Great, so John just wanted to make sure the council was on board, and we're on board, so we don't need to, have any sort of vote on it. That'd be great. Now, while Mr. Koth was there, one of the things he said was that part of the problem with the tree farm is we have twice as many trees as is practical for a farm. And so, and I talked to John about this, and so there's no room for his equipment, John's equipment, to come in and remove, say, a back row of trees. Also, another problem that Jim Koth brought up is that we planted all at once, when we should be planting a few trees on the first year, some more trees on the second year, third year, fourth year. So you have constant growth, and therefore you're constantly, every year, you don't have to get rid of, I don't know how many trees we have. Michelle, how many trees do you think we currently have? 200. But instead, we would have 5 trees at this state of readiness for whatever use we wanted, either park or curbside, or maybe 10 trees, or whatever it might be, a reasonable amount. So, so if the council doesn't object, what I'm going to ask John to do is to, once the county comes in, if the council agrees to get the county to come in, once the county comes in and removes the tree, once Paramus comes in and removes the tree, once John has planted the 6 that we want to keep, then we would remove half the rows. So if we have 8 rows, we'd remove 4. I don't know how many rows we have, it doesn't matter, but we would do that. Is there any objection to that as a potential plan? We can revisit this.
I lost the number, Tom. There's 200-something odd trees. How many is the county taking?
As many as they want.
Well, how many will be left? I guess that's my
Yeah,
question.
there's
9.
How many is Paramus?
9 trees are gonna be left?
No, 6, and we're going to plant them,
So everything will be gone.
pretty much.
When we're done. Okay, so we're starting fresh. So there's plenty of time to come up with a plan for
Yes,
next
but I'm
year.
just saying in general, if this was something that you would not object to, and we can certainly, I would go back to Liz, I would go, well, I wouldn't go back to Liz, but she's already, I'd go back to Michelle. There are plenty of experts that have offered there, including, Lori, who was it that Jim offered to help us plan the tree farm? It was an expert.
Paramus Tree Farm.
Yeah, he said he
Bill
would.
Conlon? Bill Conlon? He's
don't
retired. I think he's
recall
still.
Yeah, I think that's the guy. So we would,
I think that.
if you have no objections, we'll move forward with these discussions during August and
I
September.
don't have a problem with that.
Anybody else?
We don't spend any money yet.
No, we're not, and we're trying not to. This would be all volunteer.
Yes. Well, let's come up with a plan, and then we could
Yeah.
implement it.
So Lori and I will work on that. Third thing that I would like the council, and we do need a motion for this, we need a motion to offer the trees to the county at no cost, with the understanding that we would not incur any cost of the trees they took, with offering them all but 6 trees at this time.
Or whatever Paramus wants as well.
Yeah, so all the trees that are left after the borough and Paramus should come and take that.
If this is a done deal, why are we?
Because
Well, it's a
Jim
formality, we
wanted,
need to do an agreement, that's all.
Jim wanted, documentation paperwork, so that he can go to the freeholders
He
and
said
say,
as simple as just a letter to him at the office,
Okay.
and then he would go to the freeholders.
So somebody would like to make,
So this is not a done deal. The freeholders say no.
They won't, no,
I,
no.
I don't imagine, I just,
So we just need this for the borough attorney. I appreciate the resolution because this is a donation of assets of the borough. There should be a record that we are getting rid of them.
so then can we have a motion to have Mr. Saul prepare a resolution to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Oh, great. Okay, so now that takes care of the issues regarding the tree farm. I think, I'm going to check my notes, but I think we covered all of that. Now there's a question of erosion. While there, as I said on Friday, we saw the erosion. Michelle also had seen the erosion, and I've talked to a couple of people about this. While they're at noon on Friday, I said to John, well, does this need to be fixed? He said, yes, this is an ongoing erosion problem. It absolutely needs to be addressed. I said, doesn't it need to be addressed immediately or can it be addressed next year? He said, no, that's something that we need. And I said, could I say that to the council? He said, absolutely. By the way, John's available via phone. I think he has children this week today, so I did not ask him to come. And also Bobby Conway, if we wish, I can call her too. So then I said, John, I'm not going to hold you to it, but give me a ballpark, both labor, supply.
I just want to move, you have a proposal.
So John said 8,000.
Okay.
Then Bobby independently asked the person who had the maintenance on the work that was already done to ask him, and we have this in front of us now. And this is, it says DST Trucking, but they're actually the people who did the stones, and that what they did is working. But what happens is more water is flowing, and what they did not fail, but what has it? So John thought it would cost about $8,000. Here we have Jeffrey Mortensen from DTS saying $7,250 for a concrete basin, perforated pipe, and 3/4 inch stone. Now, what I'd like to add to that is, I believe, and Alan will attempt to check this, he might not be able to do that today, that we have $5,000 left over from KGB, and we have, sorry, I don't know why, I didn't shut down the watch, I shut down the phone, and we have $2,125.20 from Cherry Blossom Park Open Space 2015, which is 15-308 DOE. Now, I talked briefly to Alan about this before the council meeting, and he said, well, he'd have to check that, but it's possible. So that would mean that we have $7,125.20 of the $7,250 we would need to address this immediate issue of erosion. Now, there is a question, and I'm sure the mayor is going to talk about this in a minute, about whether we should be asking the church to remedy this problem or not, and I know the mayor is going to do that, or he might talk about that. One of the things I did is I went down and looked at their parking lot. Right now, they have nowhere for the water to go in their parking lot. They have no drainage. There's no basin. And secondly, the parking lot slopes downward and by more than 6 inches, and I measured the height of the current stones, and they're 6 inches. And I'm not an expert, but it looks like water comes from the north side of the park, I don't know. It comes from basically two different directions, so a 90-degree movement of water. And I think that this needs to be addressed immediately. This is the only proposal we have to address the erosion. Right now, it's already beginning to wash away some of the path that we paid to put in. And so my thought is, and the council can certainly debate it, and maybe we can find a better solution, but my thought is that we move forward with the proposal that we have and get that work done before we have more erosion occurring, because during the summer, as you know, we get these sudden strong downpours, and there's already silt or dirt collecting at the corner where it's overflowing. I personally believe that would be it would be an issue, but I know the mayor wants to talk about it.
And I don't dispute that. But on the face of it, again, I'm looking at the proposal, and to have two foot by 2 foot catch basin seems extremely excessive for the area. We don't even have those on the street.
Okay.
That seems very high. He's not telling us where he's placing these catch basins, so I don't know what water he's intending to intercept. Furthermore, when I went out there, you have problems that this is not going to address. There is erosion on the upper path itself. You can see the gullies in the stone dust itself. Also, I'm not so sure that the parking lot it could be part of the problem. It's not the whole problem, because if you look in the actual trench where the erosion is, there's stone dust. So it's coming off the paths. It's not only eroding from over the parking lot. So I think there's more to this than just this. But, you know, I don't, I would presume that the shot rock or stuff they did the last time has mitigated the impact from that corner. Again, you're right, the question comes, should we go back to the church, because basically their runoff is impacting our property. Again, if this was a homeowner and not us, it would be an issue here that property maintenance would be addressing. And again, like I told you personally, is that I don't want something that just mitigates the problem. I want to solve the problem. So I'd rather find a solution that's going to stop the erosion rather than just redirecting the water somewhere else, which this seems intended to do. But that being said, you know, I'll listen to whatever the proposal. There's not enough information from here to understand what they're trying to address and whether that's going to address these other issues that I saw out there when I was there.
Well, I certainly can't speak for Jeffrey Mortensen. I can only talk to you about what my conversation was with John Lynch and Bobby. It was their understanding, it's my understanding that that these catch basins would be placed just below where we currently have the stones, that the piping, the 8 foot of perforated piping would run towards, along the path, and then there would be more underneath, there would be stones underneath the perforation and stones above it, so it would not only be dealing with what was being caught in the catch basin, but also what is permeating through the ground. And then it would, and would be released to the ground before. It's simply not a movement of it, it's also, I think the word John used was a diffusion of the water. And then whatever water could not be diffused before it got to the end of the 8 feet would then fall upon clean stone.
Yeah, but again, I apologize that the audience can't see this picture I took, but you can see the gullies in the path itself. That's not going to address that.
No.
And that's a different problem. And there's also in the lower path, you can see, that's what's causing the erosion on the downstream embankment. It's not the water coming from the top. So there's multiple issues that need to be addressed. And maybe, to me, it's simple grading in a lot of respects. And then, to me, to put a whole perforated system there is technically, be blunt, overkill. I don't know whether that extreme.
I don't know if you have a picture of it, but the majority of the erosion followed the stones.
But that's not coming from there, because there's stone dust in the trench. And the only way stone dust gets in the trench is if it's coming off the path.
Well,
It's not coming through the stones.
I'm not trying to.
So that's what I'm saying.
But from my point of view, and I'm not an expert,
Yes.
and I wasn't there, and Michelle, I think, was there. I think what happened was the water was picking up momentum coming off the hill, and it moved out to the stone path, because the part of the stone path that is missing,
Mhm.
it shows a curvature of movement as if the water was coming in.
But it also shows erosion along the upper part on the side of that path itself. So it's coming over that path, running along the side path, and then going down to that bottom piece.
But I believe Michelle also has a picture of the water coming over
Yes,
the rocks.
that's a different issue. But I said, you can't get stone dust in there unless the path is eroded. There's only stone dust on the paths.
Yes, but
So
I'm
for
saying
getting-
that from the side, from the embankment, it's coming and it's directing over the path and then
No, it's too high up. It's at the bottom of the stone.
it didn't look like that to me,
Oh,
but I mean.
again, I was there today.
But the bottom line is,
What I'm saying,
what should we do to deal with this immediate problem? If you don't want to do this, Mayor, what would we do?
I'm saying is that, one, I would not approve a $7,000 proposal without a minimum of a sketch of what we're doing.
Okay,
And
so we need a sketch.
24 seems just excessive to me.
Well, it's $500 less than John was estimating.
I'm not worried about, I'm not talking about the, I'm just talking about the size. If I was designing
Oh, the
something, I would not
size.
be using a 24-inch by 24-inch,
Yeah.
basin.
Just a technical point, the council will need 2 more quotations since this exceeds $6,000 to comply with the local public contracts.
But isn't this an emergency?
I don't think so. If you have a rut, you could fill it with some stone or some soil. It will occur again, but it can be monitored until
Because the
you...
path is being washed away. It's not just a rut, it's the work we
There's a
paid
rut
for.
in the path that could be corrected with some stone temporarily.
That's not the only rut that I'm talking about.
Well, it's
There
the
is
one
a
I
whole
saw
portion of
today.
it missing. Michelle, would you say that portion, Laura, you saw it too?
Yeah, the lower portion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
I was down there today, I took a look at it. So I'm saying there's a temporary fix to ensure the safety of anybody who's
Okay.
using it. And it gives us plenty of time to go out and get 2 more quotations and take the lowest,
And I said it wouldn't hurt to have,
if that's what the council wants to
have
do.
Mr. Lynch, have Rob Costa look at it also, just to
That'd be
see
great.
if there's other.
But do you think this is something, I'm just concerned that this,
It'll
we
be-
have a lot of
it'll-
response.
it'll be
You think we
addressed.
address it in August? Can we,
Yes, this is
Right.
not, this is not a 6-month study, it's just somebody going out and saying, let's make sure, again, if we're gonna spend money, let's make sure we're gonna fix the problem. That's
great,
all.
no, I'm all for that. I make a motion for us to get 2 more bids, have John Costa, Bob Costa to go out and look at it, and I think that would be it, right, Mary?
Yes, okay. Is everybody in agreement? Okay. Anything else?
No, I think this is great. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the council's indulgence and the length that it took to deal with this.
Anything else, Ms. Hagerty, you wanna add?
Just that I will make myself available to whatever it is to get the tree farm into something that is working as it should and long-lasting. And most of that planning can be done before the trees are removed, and then once they're removed, if a plan is in place, we should be able to start. That is what I would love to see happen.
Sure, I'm sure you'll stay in touch with either Michelle or Councilman Papaleo. We welcome your involvement and
I would
your
like
willingness
see
to,
the Shade Tree Commission get back on board with it as well.
and I think those conversations can be had as well.
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council.
Okay.
Yes, there was one other thing, I think. You wanted to bring something up?
Yes, sir. If I may, Mr. Mayor? Going along with the conversation we just had, over the past few months, there's been a lot of discussion in town about issues that affect all of our citizens, about decisions that are being made by our town governing bodies, and more specifically by the River Edge Board of Education and the River Edge Council. By way of example, I will point to Regal's request for a shed and batting cage to be placed at Roosevelt School, which we discussed at the last meeting. Also, the Passive Pocket Park next to Cherry Hill, and whether the town and school might be well served to discuss an interlocal agreement relating to the park so that the school can utilize the park for the benefit of students. Another example is parking, or the lack thereof for teachers of our elementary schools. I'm sure there is also other issues that fall within the province of one or of the 2 governing bodies, but that nonetheless equally affect all of the citizens of River Edge and that deserve discussion. Given that these issues not only bear consideration, but will likely require interlocal or shared services agreements to bring them to fruition or to a final resolution one way or another, I would like to propose that we reach out to the River Edge Board of Education and request that we schedule and hold a joint shared services meeting with the River Edge Board of Education forthwith. At the meeting, we can hold a multi-governmental discussion over potential shared service ideas and plans for the future. Such meetings not only help governmental entities to cut excess waste, they provide our citizens with an opportunity in a public forum to give input while allowing the board and council to take suggestions on possible public sector shared services opportunities that previously had not been considered or that may financially benefit the community as a whole. The meeting will provide us with an opportunity to have everybody together so that we can engage in an open and honest conversation about issues that affect not only the school board and council, but every citizen here in River Edge. Thus, I would request that we contact the River Edge Board of Education to request that this meeting be scheduled at a neutral location, such as the River Edge Library Meeting Room.
Thank you, Councilman, that's already being done. We've been in active negotiations with the school board for well over a year regarding issues regarding the traffic, the parking, and interlocal regarding the use of the fields. They have draft language for a interlocal agreement, which we're close to finalizing, I presume. If there are other aspects of shared services you want to explore, that's certainly welcome. There's a shared service subcommittee of the council, and you can certainly invite a representative of the board to meet with you on those if you have specific ideas on other areas outside of the ones you mentioned, because the other ones are already should be addressed with the current framework we're working under.
Yeah, I feel it would behoove us to explore the possibility of a joint meeting with the entire board and the entire council.
I don't see what purpose that would serve unless you have ideas to offer, and we already have pre-existing agreements with them on these specific issues that are currently under renegotiation right now.
I mean, I understand you may not see the purpose of it, but I think I do, and I think other people do as well, so I'm going to make that motion.
You have a subcommittee, you can certainly work under your subcommittee.
Second.
There's no reason for it. If you have a subcommittee, you can.
No, he's making a motion for the full council to meet with the full BOE. That's what he's making a motion for.
Correct.
We already have a process with subcommittees. Why are we changing it to?
Are you recommending this be a one-time discussion?
I don't mean it to be a regular thing. I think it's a one-time discussion so that we can bring out all issues and the entire council and the entire board can speak to it. I believe there is some support in the council for this, and I believe that there's some support on the Board of Education for this.
So basically, and I'm seconding, that's why I'm speaking to it, is there are just a time for us to get together and have some communicate directly.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily to make any decisions, but to just have a point of dialogue to discuss, because a lot of this stuff is coming back to us, especially the parking, and residents are concerned about that, and there's also, I brought this up before, the whole snow removal, there are other issues, and in particular, this first, the batting box, and then a batting box that costs, batting cage that costs far more. What were the two prices? The original one was like $2,000, and the one that their superintendent of works
Significantly more.
15,000
thereabouts.
So, and the reason, Mayor, is I was leading that meeting at that meeting, and my point was, well, is this coming from the BOE, or is this coming from the superintendent of schools, or is this simply the wish list of the superintendent of who is the person, the guy, the superintendent of their buildings and grounds? And that was unclear, and so I said, well, so we're being asked to spend another $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 for a permanent structure, and we don't really know who it's coming from. We haven't received anywhere. And at that time, and Councilman Chimigo and I talked about it, I just think it would be good if maybe yearly or bi-yearly, we just met as a whole group and just kind of talked about the overlap a little bit so that we can get a sense of where they're at. I don't see anything wrong with
The
meeting
meeting
and
and
having
active
that sense.
discussions going on with regard to all those issues.
But
And Councilman, you have a liaison to both school boards, and that's the process that the council uses. The only time we would do this, we've had meetings like that regarding the overall budgets, and we've had meetings like that, but to come for a free-for-all to talk about topics which are actively in discussion, we have a subcommittee. The subcommittee's been reporting back to the council.
Well,
If somebody else
I
wants
really
to
don't know what the subcommittee is doing. I cannot tell you one specific detail.
Listen,
And I'm not asking for you to do it in public. I'm just simply saying.
there's nothing secret that's discussed. We talked about all the issues you mentioned. We're talking about renegotiating our shared service agreement for access to the fields, maintenance of the fields, access to the gymnasium. It's going to cover the snow plowing. It's also going to cover the request by the borough to allow construction of a storage shed on Roosevelt School property and the batting cage. The reason the cost came in more is because they had some security concerns and they wanted specific fencing around the area. That's all that was about. The choice the borough can make, like I said, and I've said this to them, and I say this to us here, it's not our property. So if they have conditions they want us to follow, to do something on their property, we either accept it, negotiate it, or we don't do it. And that's where you are with that, in terms of asking to use their property.
Respectfully, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm sorry.
Well, I would just like to ask where all these complaints came to you from.
What complaints?
You started out by saying that people of the town.
Yeah, the people in town, I'm not gonna
But,
name
no,
names.
is it on that website, or?
No, no, no,
I
no,
don't
it's
want
not on a web,
names.
no, it's not a website,
Just
it's conversations,
conversation.
absolutely. After the school board announced that they were looking into possibly restructuring the field at Cherry Hills to add some parking, people were very upset. We were told at the meeting that Dr. Van Dove and the school board had a couple of months ago that there would be discussion. I've heard rumors, I don't know if it's true, that now they're moving forward with the parking. I have not received any subcommittee reports, I'm not quite sure where this transparency
That's not the
seems
parking, the
to...
parking.
That's
is
not the goal of the
education.
subcommittee. That's a
Yes.
strict Board of Ed
The Board of Education.
issue. That's not our purview. So
Exactly.
we're not.
That's why I'm saying, let's all get together in a room and talk
It's
about
not
some
our
of these
purview.
things.
We have no say on what the school does on their property.
I understand, but we can talk to them about certain ones of these things, since we're asking them certain things and we want to know. There are certain things that we can do. If parking is an issue, maybe we can explore parking alternatives on Bovis
This,
and
with
so
all due
forth.
respect, Councilman, this has been going on for 15 years with parking. There are multiple times where committees have met, experts have been hired, the chief of police has been involved. They asked for dedicated on-street parking for teachers, and we told them we can't do that legally. That's the simple answer. They can't park on the pocket park because it's Green Acres restricted. We know that's not allowed. So if they want to look to solve their problem by putting stuff on their own property, that's their prerogative, and the proper venue to discuss it would be at a Board of Education meeting. If residents are concerned about the Board of Ed building a parking lot, that's where they express the concern. It's the same difference when people come and complain about their taxes and not want to differentiate that we only control the municipal portion of the taxes. Same thing here, they can come to us and complain that the Board of Ed wants to put a parking lot, but if the Board of Ed wants to put a parking lot, we can't stop them by law. They're not subject to zoning, they're not subject to our rules. All you can do is politically, or the public can put pressure on them not to make a certain decision, but there's nothing that this council can do to prevent that.
I mean, I'm not looking to override, and nor should any of us, the authority of the Board of Education. I mean, they are a separate governmental body, and I wouldn't want them saying, hey, we need to come over and start interfering in the council's business either. I don't think
Did I
anybody
say
would really
override?
want
I
that.
don't recall saying the word
If-
override or anything of the
Well,
sort. I
but
said
you
join
want
us.
to know what they're thinking with respect to the parking over at Cherry Hill.
Now,
And
now,
the simple
now you're
answer is.
editorializing what I just said. I
But
said I'd like a
the
joint
simple
meeting of
answer
the
is go to a
board.
Board of Education
We
meeting.
have a
and
liaison, if somebody else wants to be the liaison, they certainly can take that role and go to the meetings and then report back. That's the proper way, that's the way the council handles
I
this.
didn't know anything at all about everything that you've just brought up. You are the liaison.
No, he's not.
I'm not the liaison.
Vito is.
Vito is.
Vito is.
No, I'm talking
Oh,
about
for the
on
shade,
everything
yeah,
that
holding
you
with,
just went
I know,
on
you just gave us
talking
a
about.
half hour, well, that's
No,
why
I
I'm reporting
didn't.
it.
No, but I'm saying, I, as a council person, knew nothing of any of this water running down or any of that. What my point is,
Yeah.
that we have liaisons, they do the job the same way as the liaisons here. We get the information at the meetings.
Well,
This is all new to me, what
Mary,
came up tonight.
let me talk to you about this. Everybody handles being a liaison different. What my style is that as things are going along, I call up people and I say, listen, I can't call up more than 2 people because then I reach the threshold of 4 and I'm not allowed to do that. Correct. So, I call up people and I say, listen, this is a concern. I call up the mayor.
I don't wanna-
No, Mary, because you brought it up.
No,
Mary,
you're
you didn't bring it up. I just want to answer it.
Daryl's acting and you're acting like you know nothing about what's going on. We have processes.
No, I understand that, but I'm answering your question. I'm just saying that I have no details on what's going on. And we hear about this from the residents. And I don't think it's wrong to simply say, we should meet as a body occasionally and just get a sense of where the other group, how they see us and how they do. Because, and again, this comes this came because I was sitting in Ed's chair at the last meeting, and Al said that they wanted to do this, and we were going from a $2,000 improvement on BOE land using borough money to a $20,000. And I'm not trying to blame Al. I don't want to shoot the messenger. I said, is this coming only from the superintendent, or is it coming from buildings and grounds, or was this coming from the superintendent of schools? Does the BOE know about it? Does the BOE approve this? And and since then, no one has shared those questions that I asked in public.
There's been no answers.
That's what I'm saying.
That
So
was 2
I
weeks
don't
ago.
see the harm in just having a meeting. Just to
the
communicate
liaison.
where
Well, here's the
everybody
thing,
is standing,
I mean, we
in
haven't,
general.
we haven't gotten to any committee reports yet, so, council comments. I mean, we haven't gotten to that portion of the meeting. If you want to ask me what happened at the last meeting, I'll be happy to tell
Do
you.
it now.
No, I'm not gonna do it now, but I'm
And
just saying.
again, we
you
have,
could-
we
you
have
could
a,
tell me.
we have a
You could ask
liaison
me.
process, and that's where we get in trouble when that is not followed.
Well, all right.
And you have a liaison to both school boards. So,
I'm
mean, if
willing
you
to
wanna-
withdraw my second, but I think even after all this is done, I think it's a good idea. Even if you want to wait until after these negotiations are done, I believe that we as a council should sit down with the BOE on an annually or biannual basis just to get a sense, because I don't know if a lot of these issues are coming from the superintendent, Bendova, these issues are coming from the BOE, or these issues are maybe coming from, especially the fields and our girls, and how, the inequality which you brought up between what our Little League gets versus what our Regal girls get. I don't really know where this is all
It
coming
has nothing to
from.
do with the Board of Ed. That's.
And the tipping point was for me at our last meeting. So I'm willing to withdraw my second, but I do think that in the future we should have this
We've had
conversation.
those meetings.
I
in the
could tell
past.
you at the last meeting, the president of the Board of Education was there also, in addition to Superintendent Bendova and the Superintendent of Grounds. So I have to assume that based on the fact that the president of the Board of Education was there, that she's representing the will of the Board of Education. So it wasn't just the superintendent. And, I mean, again, I don't want to speak for her, but she was there, and,
But Councilman, like,
and it's a
but
negotiation.
she says exactly what we say. I have to go back to the full board and discuss it, just like we say we have to go back to the council and discuss it.
So why can't we all discuss it together?
Because
I'm not withdrawing my motion, it can fail, but I'm not withdrawing
Well,
it.
are you withdrawing your second, Councilman?
I am.
believe-
I'm withdrawing my
I believe.
But I
think-
absolutely believe we need to
Yes,
put this
and
sort of
you
thing
can-
into the
We have
yearly
had those
calendar.
meetings in past years.
Not in the 6 years I've been
Yes,
on.
we have. We had them at budget time. We have met with
Yeah,
them.
it was part of the,
full-
best
The
practice.
practices.
The
The whole
full-
board, yes, we have.
Yeah.
The council with the full board, yes, we have.
I have no recollection of this.
Yeah.
Alan, when did we do this during the budget?
I
Did we
can't
do
tell
it
you
this
the
year?
estimate, but it was a custom of both Riverdale and the.
Honestly, I'm not trying to misrepresent.
We've never met
I
with
have,
Riverdale, but we have
in
met
the,
with
in the 6 years, I'm
I've
in
been
my
there.
6th year.
That was
I
it.
have,
Pictures.
Mhm. But we have done it, and again,
Yeah.
Councilman, it is a good practice, I'm not saying it's not, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's,
yeah, I'm good with that. I'm not saying anything other than I think that this is something we need to do, on a yearly or bi-yearly
that's
basis.
fine, no one's gonna disagree, it's one of the best practices, and it's certainly something we can do.
And I am saying that, to my recollection, and I've been on this council for 6 years, we have not done that. Maybe it happened the year before I came on the council with you guys, because you guys were on the council before me. But I have no recollection of this ever happening.
But I don't say it's something that we should not do, I agree, I don't think it should be a free-for-all kind of, discussion. I think if there's specific questions, you have a liaison, he can go back to the boards and report back, just like we do with every other body. There's no difference in the school board as whether it's one of the commissions. It's no different than, the county today asking, for permission to take the trees. It's, operates the same way. Nobody was privy to those discussions, you brought it back to us.
Yeah,
We all
absolutely.
we all say, let's
But
go play with Jim Cote.
you guys have been negotiating for quite a long time. We haven't even talked about this in closed session. I don't even know if it
There's no
would,
closed session. There's nothing
but it wouldn't be. But I think there's a difference between me calling as many of you as I can under the law for something that came up since Friday, and negotiations that have been going on for weeks.
Again, you could ask me, I mean, I explained it at the last meeting where we were at, and you could ask me now where we're at. I don't, it's not a secret.
I think there's a difference between an overview and details.
Well, it depends on the specificity of your question, I guess. I mean,
So
I'm not trying to be snarky, but I mean, if you want to know something, just ask me.
And
You
know
can
what,
ask me here.
If it suits the councilman, I mean, we have 3 representatives on the subcommittee. One of us was.
I'm not the only one there.
And let somebody else, if you would want to attend in my stead, Councilman, you might happy to.
Sit down and
All right.
open up that
I
seat.
mean, and if you guys feel as though that you need a
Because
different
apparently if
liaison
something
to
else
the
is going on,
schools,
yeah, then you need to.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
your
we need
view
a
as
different
well.
liaison. I am not saying that at all. And as you saw, I withdrew my motion.
Yeah, no, I'm just-
I'm just simply saying, I think this is a good practice. I think it's something we should do. I gave you a specific reason why I thought that this was something we should do. We are on the record that I asked you many questions that you weren't able to answer at that time. It just led me to it led me at that moment to wonder, who is this really coming from? Is this coming from the Board of Education, or is this coming from a few individuals? Because a $15,000 to $17,000 difference in a structure struck me as excessive, especially since we were kind of asked to vote on that. And I'm responding in a timely fashion to a specific issue with what I think would be a good practice. Now, you guys all agree that this is a good practice, and I think I think it's wrong of you to say that I've lost confidence in our liaisons, or I feel the
just say that
liaisons
you
haven't
want
doing their
somebody
job.
else
What I
to
said,
be
I said,
there.
I have a liaison.
I'm asking for something very, I am not making a broad statement. I have mentioned a specific incident with a specific reason. I am not questioning our liaisons, and it's wrong of you to suggest
No,
that
that's not what I said, Councilman, so don't put words in my mouth. What I said was we have a liaison. If you have specific questions you want directed to the school board, that's the proper conduit to do it.
Okay.
That's what I said.
and
And I said, if you want a different liaison, that's certainly your prerogative as well.
That is where it now gets characterized as a lack of confidence.
No, but you didn't say, I asked my liaison, you didn't bring the liaison into it at all. So I'm just saying you have a liaison.
But as soon as you say if you want a different liaison.
Well, when you're saying that
now
when you
inferring-
want to say you don't trust the subcommittee and you want to have a 17-person meeting to talk about a batting cage and how we're going to
No,
organize
and
snow
that's
plowing.
not what I said. I said that I thought we should have, I was very clear that we should have a general discussion of where they're standing in general towards their expectations towards us and our expectations.
Well-
I'm just saying,
and I can tell you right now,
listen.
that just as to that structure,
Obviously, listen
the
to me,
request
maybe
was.
perhaps I'm not listening to you.
No.
Why don't we just move on instead of wasting?
All right, but I just want to answer your question. In respect to the batting cage and the new structure where it would be enclosed, that request was made again in the presence of the president of the Board of Education, their superintendent of grounds, their business administrator, and the superintendent of schools.
So let me address
So
that.
I have to assume
Yeah,
that,
but that's my problem.
And
Wait, that's my problem. That's really where it comes from. You have to assume, no, wait, stop.
Okay.
You have to assume that the entire board is in favor of this. I don't have to assume that.
No.
Okay.
Councilman-
Now, no, wait, let me finish.
Let me
I'll
get
stop.
to the
That's
critical
my issue.
point. The
And
issue
I would
is
like to
safety.
know that,
Issue
I
that-
would like to know, because it did not come with a letter of request, it did not come with anything other than, it was verbal.
Yeah.
And that's where my doubt comes from.
It's no different than you bringing me a proposal for $8,000 to
I'm
fix a road.
on this body.
so would you,
I told you.
You didn't get any answers on that either.
No,
But-
no, wait,
but-
wait.
no, see,
No, you're apples and oranges. I'm on this body.
Councilman.
No, I'm on this
Councilman.
body. I
Councilman.
told you I could call Bobby, and I could call
Councilman
John
Dunbar.
Lynch about this, or
Listen,
experts.
Councilman.
This is really apples and oranges. I don't know
Councilman,
why
you have
you're
the floor.
trying to attack me on this.
No, I'm not trying to
but,
attack you.
I'm not,
You
I'm not,
started
no.
this, Councilman. What
I
I'm-
asked for a simple
What
meeting.
I'm trying
And I
to-
then withdrew it to show in good faith that I'm not trying to undermine the process. And I asked for us to do this on a yearly or bi-yearly basis. You agreed, and then you went on to say I had, if you wanted to get rid of the liaison, I'm not doing it. If I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong.
The issue with regard to the batting cage was an issue of safety raised by their Director of Public Work, or their Director of Buildings and Grounds. He explained his reasoning, and did he not?
No, he explained his reasoning,
Of
and
concern of safety, that's what that is, and the added cost was that. So to say it's the board, not the board,
Well,
whatever. If
see,
no-
Dan,
if
you were not at the meeting, I don't know if you watched the.
But I was at the
YouTube
meeting.
No, I'm talking about our meeting, which is
Yes.
where this is all stemming from. At this meeting, I asked, the batting what's it called?
cage.
The batting cage at do we have one at KGB? The answer was yes. I said, is it this sort of structure that we're now being asked, or is it the type of structure that we were considering? And the answer was, it's the $2,000. I then asked, has there been any incident of injury or accident? I asked Alan that. Alan answered, I believe to the best of his ability, no. That's, so I understand that somebody said that this was an issue of safety, but at the meeting that I was at, I asked that question, is there any grounds or evidence to support that we need to spend an extra $15,000 to $17,000 because of any incident of a existing batting cage at a public facility? And the answer was no. In addition, one of the reasons that it was requested was because the groundskeeper needed to lift the fence or something.
Well, you'd have to, yes, that was part of the reason. He was concerned with the time
So
that it would take to
I
lift the
did not
netting.
turn this into a big issue. I was very clear about why I seconded the motion. I was very clear why I withdrew the motion. I was very clear that I was not looking to undermine negotiations. I was looking to have a dialogue or discussion so we have a general understanding where they can speak to us and we can speak to them. I was clear about all those things. I in no way said that I wanted a new liaison. I in no way impeded the reputation of our liaison. And so, you know, I would ask that we just move on from this because I think we need to agree to
Yes,
disagree.
because the whole thing was, from my perspective, very calculated, Councilman, the way you handed it off to.
No,
some
Dario
professional-
told me he wanted to do this. I was, and I can understand,
Anyway.
Ed, wait, I can understand that, and I apologize if that's the way it appeared. I simply knew that I had two pieces of new business, and I knew Dario had one, and I thought it was a good new business.
Now, let's make this clear, this was my motion, and this was my idea, and I don't take kindly to the fact that you're implying that I'm his puppet in some way.
I didn't say
Oh,
that.
my God.
Really, you just handed it off to Dario? I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly, I didn't even say anything, he goes, oh, I think Council wants to ask,
Well,
me." That's
because-
exactly what he said.
Well, I think the implication was there, but I'll move on, that's
That's all I'm
fine.
Let's move on.
And the question about the parking and all that stuff, and you've known that all the issues have been under discussion, and you know the council protocol with regard to liaisons, so.
You know, we'll talk about that protocol in a few minutes.
Any other unfinished business?
Oh, please.
Well, we did pass around the chairs, I'd like to get the council's approval to, so the chairs, we have a motion to file the chairs. Is there a second?
Sounds okay with
We don't.
it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's Ken Crowder. Let's give me what's going on.
Any new business? Oh, we covered all new business?
Yeah, I don't have to.
Motion open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're open to the public now. We'll again open from the regular meeting. If you want to speak now, Mr. Dunsey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Peter Dunsey, 446 Oak Avenue, River Edge. Here on behalf of the River Edge Cultural Center. We had a rather successful car show on Sunday, and everybody had a good time, and got a lot of positive feedback. Some major negative was there simply didn't have room for everybody that came, which will lead to next year. We want to thank all the people that were involved. It goes way beyond the 25 volunteers that we had assisting us. It starts with the borough clerk, thank you, the Board of Health, the DPW, which did a fantastic job, REC, the River Edge Volunteer Fire Department, the River Edge Police Reserves, the River Edge Schools, the River Edge Library, the Neighbors on Continental, the mayor and council. All of us, at different stages, participated in helping put this together. And we just wanted to say thank you, we do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Dunsey.
Thank you, sir.
It's always a great event. We know there's always the concerns with the overflow, and, you know, I suggest that, I know you started planning for next year. We should probably meet with the police and everybody else sooner rather than later, so we can evaluate some of the issues that occurred this year and see how we can accommodate the show next year.
That's right. I concur, and I left out the community church also as part of this. Yes, at some time in the winter, when we have a good sense of what we're doing, is an excellent time to be having that dialogue. Everybody knows the plan.
Yes,
And
there were a couple of contingencies that were not anticipated, so I think everything could be addressed next year.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, great job.
Yeah, it was an awesome time.
Sandal.
Before I get into my second time as the Historic Commission Chair, I'm also Vice President of Cultural Center. And I want to thank you also again for borough's great support for Lady Peter's 17th year?
Yes.
17th year. I'm Phyllis Angelo, 594 Elm, Chairman of the River Edge Historic Commission. What I came tonight was about the historic component to the master plan. That is a necessity for CLG, which is where the certified local government, we have to have it. We understand that the last that we heard, there were some procedural issues with that at the planning board, and we still have, that's why I come to the meeting now to ask you what's happening. We worked with Bridget Bogert, the former community planner, with Mary Donahue, and I worked with her for many, many hours, and they put together if you don't have a copy, passing on a copy of the historic component to the master plan. So I guess basically what I want to know is, why isn't it been ratified yet?
Because Mr. Chukowski had indicated to me at one point that he had sent a letter to the commission. I had never seen a letter. It wouldn't have come through me. So I don't know. I had asked him to make a determination as to whether the process that we followed was whether the procedural missteps that occurred were fatal defects in the process, meaning that are they things that are administrative nature that may not affect us to claim we legally adopted the master plan element. The first time, they had a public hearing without public notice. So obviously that became null and void, and that was the first time. It was 10 years ago, and that didn't become obvious till much later on. This time there were some issues about certain things not being noticed properly or whatever, and he was yes, nothing with the element itself. No one has any claim or any comment or issue with the text of it itself. And in fact, I did, again, email Mr. Chukowski today. He's not responded to me, so I will, actually, maybe Mr. Sarlo can reach out to him and just get an answer. Because if everything is okay, everything is okay. If it's not, then we will.
Because
It would literally be one rehearing at the planning board, if that would be the case.
Because we haven't heard from anyone that they wanted to change anything on the.
No, and that was, I don't think that was ever the issue.
Right.
The issue
Never
is
came to
that
the
it's legally
But
and
you can't have a
duly.
historic commission without a historic component of the master.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yes. No, that's understood.
Okay, and we can't keep saying to the state that, it's procedural, we don't have it. At some point, they're going to say, what's the problem?
We will get that clarified.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Would anyone like to see a copy of what I have?
I have it.
Everyone have it? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you do that? That's on the phone. Thank you.
Anyone else like to make a comment and ask a question? We will again have another opportunity here in the public. Ms. McKee? Yes.
Vinnie Reed, 7457
So please come up so you get recorded, please.
Cindy Bequeath, 7457 Avenue. I went to the art show, it was really fabulous. I really wish that we were allowed to use more Memorial Park. I know that there was a vote on a couple of years ago that we can't do it because even though that it was offered that they would take care of the grounds afterwards, it just seems to be a good
There's a lot of different opinions regarding that, and that was basically more of an issue with the Recreation Commission and the Cultural Center, and some concerns raised by the police department. But
maybe it could be reconsidered.
it certainly might, it certainly can be brought up.
I really wasn't going to come and speak, but there's two things. One is you were talking about getting bids for that Cherry Park.
Just the erosion problem.
Right. So we actually had a bid from a local landscaper, King, that does a lot of sponsoring for our town, and they do that very well. We've had that for our house. So if you're looking for a second person,
Oh, I see.
you may want to contact them.
Yeah.
And then I want to make a comment on what just went on earlier. I've been in business and owned my own business and been in business for years, and I was kind of appalled at what went on up here. That the way conversations were going back and forth, if that was in a business setting, you could be out of a job. It just didn't seem like there was much respect between the parties, and I was pretty much appalled at that. And hopefully, I've been coming to these for at least the last 6 years since I went back to River Edge. And not all the time, but I do, and I just have never heard this before, so hopefully this won't happen again, and y'all can figure out a way to not fight like that, because it just isn't, the facts, it just was awful. I have a suggestion in regard to that, and then I will sit down. You talked about having liaisons for the committees, and nobody knew, a couple of comments were made, and not knowing what other groups are doing. There's got to be a place that you all can write down your notes if you go to a meeting with the board, or you can do something where everybody has the opportunity on their own to get those notes. You don't have to say, hey, you can just put something somewhere, either on the website that's just open to your own, to just you guys, where you could put your notes, and then there is none of this. This is what was done at the meeting, who was there, who did the speaking. That's what they do in business. And I don't think I think you could do the same thing here, find a way to post the notes so that you don't have to go through all this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Can I just make one more?
Sure.
Lori Haggerty, 850 Summit Ave. Based on what we spoke about in the work session, I just wanted to verify that someone would draft a letter to the Director of County Parks.
Preparing a resolution.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I ask one question? Just how many trees do you think, Paramus wants? Just so we kind of know.
Michelle dealt with Paramus,
I don't know how many they want. I do know, I have places for about 10 of them. The Congregational Church wants 3, various different trees. But both of them are going to go to
So if we just said, to the county,
Yeah.
take,
the balance of trees.
take 160, would that be?
That would be okay?
No? I
I'm not
would,
gonna put a number.
I think. it-
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not in the resolution, but I mean, when they come, Paramus hasn't.
No worry about it.
The only problem is if we
Take what's
order
there.
for Paramus and Paramus doesn't show up, and we are stuck.
So just, well, that's what I want, so just kind of tell Paramus, you get there before the county, otherwise,
Right, exactly.
too bad, so sad.
Some of the trees are really not
Yeah, oh, we are. We're going to offer just to take them, yeah.
To take?
Some of the trees are not in perfect shape, shall we say, to be planted as a regular tree.
Okay.
I don't know what they're gonna do with them. They may not take those. They'll have to probably end up in the street in some way.
Okay.
Because some of them are just not well in the street. For that,
Okay.
I trust between you and everybody else will
Figured.
sort them out the right way. Motion to-
We didn't get these trees, and why didn't we know that you?
Oh, no, let's, no, that's not a good idea. But I'll answer that to you after the meeting.
No, they were part of, they did get them for free.
Yeah, we got them
That was
for free
true.
from the
We
state.
knew that they weren't necessarily suitable for shade trees. That was known at the time. Anyway, seeing nobody else, motion to close to the public.
Second.
Motion to adjourn work session to go to regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. We're gonna go immediately into a regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council, Tuesday, July 11th, 2017. Can I ask everybody please rise for a moment of silent prayer? Councilman Papaleo, please lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. I'd like to remind all members of the public, we have 3 fire exits in our council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
I'm here.
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 Here. May I please have a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular meeting of June 5th, special meeting of June 14th, and work session meeting of June 20th. Madam Clerk, what was the meeting of June 14th?
Open
Was that closed session? Okay.
to release the minutes? You release-
Oh, that was, oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't, I don't,
You were there.
I was there, okay. Motion on all those, please.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I need to abstain from June 20th. I wasn't present.
So all in favor for June 5th and June 14th, and then when it's...
14th, I have to.
Why don't we take one at a time?
June 5th, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Meeting of June 14th, is a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention?
Abstain.
The work session meeting of June 20th, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Do we have to abstain with just saying that we're approving it to become part of the record?
If you weren't at the meeting, I prefer you abstain.
Oh.
We have one proclamation this evening, declaring August 6th to 12th National Farmers Market Week.
She was here, but she went home.
Oh, I
She
didn't
has
see
3
it.
kids. She was here earlier.
Well, then I will just quickly read it into the record, and then I will present it to you as the council representative of the Farmers Market Committee. We have a proclamation, whereas farmers markets are important outlets for fresh farm to table healthy ingredients nationwide and provide agricultural producers with increased marketing opportunities. And whereas in 2014, the Borough River Edge began a farmers market on Continental Avenue, and whereas farmers markets play a key role in developing local and regional food systems that support the sustainability of family farms, revitalize communities, and provide opportunities for farmers and consumers to interact. They offer consumers fresh, affordable, convenient, and helpful products produced and sold locally. And whereas it's important to recognize and support the River Edge Farmers Market and to advocate further awareness of farmer markets and the important contribution farmers make to daily life in America and our communities. Now therefore be resolved that I, as mayor of the Borough of River Edge, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim August 6th through 12th, 2017 as National Farmers Week. I encourage the residents of River Edge to become a farmers market patron every Tuesday at the River Edge Farmers Market and to celebrate the benefits of farmers markets at the local sustainable and artisanal products sold there. So I'll present this to Councilwoman Davis, who represents the council on the Farmers Market Committee. And just publicly thank Natalie Chape, who's our manager, and the wonderful job she's done in the past 2 years in maintaining and growing the market. I think the fortuitous event of having 4th of July on a Tuesday was very beneficial to have the market open, because a lot of people who were not aware that we actually had the market were able to find it, and hopefully that will bring business in the coming weeks. And we're always looking for more vendors, and obviously spread the word around. We need to support the vendors, obviously, or they will not want to be here. So anyway, congratulations. And
Thank you. And as I said, Natalie was here, but
yes,
she was here for about a half hour.
Yeah, if I had, well, obviously, you know that. And yes, and to Mr. Clee's point, we very rarely ever get into that kind of discussion on this council. I think, for whatever reason, it got a little bit more unruly than we ever had. So I will assure you, I will do what I can to make sure that I don't participate in that, and I don't think the council wants to either. So we're open, motion open to the public for any comments on any agenda item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anybody has a question or comment regarding a specific agenda item, now would be the time to speak. Otherwise, we will have an open session to speak again at the end of the meeting. Seeing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appointment of personnel changes.
Mayor, maybe we can just approve them and at whole as opposed to read them.
Oh, there's a lot, okay. I will just read them and then we'll do one motion. Approve the resignation of Joseph Madeline, Patrol Officer at the River Edge Police Department, effective June 27, 2017. Approve the resignation of Kevin McKeary, Patrol Officer in the River Edge Police Department, effective July 1. Approve the salary change of Christopher Tabor, Laborer 2 in Department of Public Works, from the Step 1 salary $30,332 to Step 2 $42,991, effective July 5th. Approve the salary change for Judy O'Connell, Deputy Clerk, from an annual salary of $56,694 to $57,174 due to an increase in longevity from $960 to $1,440, effective July 6th. Approve the salary change of Noreen Patteray, Court Administrator, from annual salary of $62,404 to $62,884 due to an increase in longevity from $1,440 to $1,920, effective April 9th. Approve the salary change of Patrick Diamond, hold that one. Patrol Officer of the Police Department, from annual salary of $63,335 to Patrol Officer 15th grade, $71,597, effective July 23rd. Approve the salary change of Richard Stephen, foreperson in the Department of Public Works, from annual salary of $90,137 to $90,617 due to a step increase.
That's a longevity increase, Mayor.
Okay. Longevity increase from 1,920 to 2,400, effective February 6th. Approve the salary change of Peter Stitz, Mechanic 2, in the Department of Public Works, from an annual Step 4 salary of $64,493 to Step 5, $64,901, effective July 22nd. Approve the salary change of John Mouthy Jr., Police Dispatcher, from an hourly Step 2 rate of $20.42 to Step 3, $21.50, effective July 1. Approve the resignation of David Stuckey from the River Edge Volunteer Fire Department, effective June 27th. And approve the resignation of Rena Misheri from the River Edge Volunteer Fire Department, effective July 27th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on any of the individual items? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have various correspondence. I'm not going to read them. They're in the agenda and available to the clerk's office. We also have on file this monthly reports from the Library Board for June 2017. Environmental Commission for June 2017, Board of Health in June, and the Tax Collector, Historic Commission, and the Land Use Board for May 2017. We have two ordinances on for first reading tonight. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 17-19 by title.
Ordinance 1719, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of radio equipment in, by, and for the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $24,700 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation for the issuance of such bonds.
This is a bond order to authorize the purchase of radios for the fire department, which was approved as part of our capital budget this year. Have a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading, please.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Balloney?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dees? Yes. Councilman Canito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
And there'll be a public hearing on this ordinance at a later meeting. Ordinance 17-20, please read by title, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 1720, bond ordinance to amend section 4 of the bond ordinance, ordinance number 1762, entitled Bond Ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and to the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology equipment, and a new communication and signal system equipment in, by, and for the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $158,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds adopted April 6, 2012.
And again, this is to purchase thermal imaging cameras and charges to the fire department under the capital budget. Please have a motion to adopt ordinance 1720 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Just so everyone's clear, we're not appropriating the sum of $158,000 for the purchase of the thermal imaging cameras. This is part of
Correct.
that
Of an
prior.
override. Point noted, yes. A roll call, please.
Councilman Balloney?
Yes.
Councilman Dees?
Yes.
Councilman Canito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
And again, that will be on for a public hearing at another meeting. And actually, the third ordinance on for first reading, ordinance 17-21, please read by title.
Ordinance 721, an ordinance to establish Chapter 63 Municipal Alliance Against Substance Committee.
And this is just an ordinance. We are formalizing or codifying the organization, operation, and appointments to what's known as Municipal Alliance Against Drugs and Alcohol, or Municipal Alliance Against Substance Abuse, and we're just putting past practice into formal ordinance. Can I have a motion to adopt this on first reading, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Balloney?
Yes.
Councilman Dees?
Yes.
Councilman Canito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
And likewise, that will be on for a public hearing at a subsequent meeting. We have one ordinance on for second reading this evening, public hearing, ordinance 17-17. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 1717, an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 45, interlocal services.
And this is a reciprocal agreement for each and every municipality in the county for intermunicipal fire assistance for any and all emergencies. It's a standard practice that we've had. Can I please have a motion to open public hearing on ordinance 1717?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now open to the public for public comment on ordinance 1717. If anyone has a question or would like to make a comment, now would be the time. You look like you want to ask something, Lori,
No,
Okay. Motion,
Reminiscing of my freeholder.
motion to close the public hearing, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt ordinance 1717.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Balloney?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dees? Yes. Councilman Canito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Very good. We have by consent a list of resolutions. Resolution 17-241 to 17-265, and from 17-267 to 17-270. Would any member of council like to pull any of those individual resolutions for separate consideration or votes? See no one, can I have a motion to adopt those by consent, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Our Finance Chairman, Councilman Bartoloni, please read and move Resolution 17-266, payment of bills.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $4,901,863.58. Capital account, $11,384.37. Recreation account, $7,182.75. Animal welfare account, $13.20. Self-insurance account, $15,608.61. Trust other account, $12,284.94. Open space account, $6,978.69. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that brings us to our next opportunity to open the hearing to the public, please. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Open the public again for any comments, questions, anything this time. Gentlemen? Anybody? Motion to close to the public, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments. Councilwoman Bastood.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we've concluded a fantastic week in River Edge, as we always do the first week of July, beginning on July 3rd with the Music in the Park, and July 4th with the parade and the fun fair. It was wonderful to honor former Councilman Tom Smith as Grand Marshal this year. It was great. And concluding with the River Edge Cultural Center's 17th annual car show on July 9th. We have to thank the July 4th Committee, which Councilman Bartoloni is our liaison, our Recreation Director, the Cultural Center, and all of our River Edge Borough personnel, the Police Department, the DPW, and our Emergency Services, Fire Department, and the Ambulance Service for assisting. I'd like to thank Officer Zemides and Diamond, along with the other members of the REPD and the Oradell Police Department, for another successful Riverdale Police Academy. Class 5, we will survive. Did I get it right? Is that right? Okay. My son participated. This is his second year. It's an outstanding, well-run program that these officers volunteer their time to establish, and I want to thank them. And just for the council's benefit, this year, the Bergen County Police prosecutors came in on Monday to talk about the heroin epidemic. On Tuesday, they went to the Palisades Interstate Parkway Marine Unit, and they understood what that unit does, and they took a great tour on the Hudson under the George Washington Bridge. The FBI counterterrorism unit came in, and then on Thursday they went to Newark Airport, and they had a presentation by the Port Authority Police Department and all the work that they do with keeping us safe at the airports. Concluded with a great graduation on Friday. So thank you to all of the members who donate their time and all the businesses that support that as well. I'm going to give a report on recreation. The work on the infield improvements at Cherry Hill is anticipated to begin in mid-August. Are we communicating with the school regarding that? Fantastic. So that is going to be shorten the infield, make some improvements to that are long in the coming. So thanks to the rec department and the school for seeing that project come to fruition. Last year, this council had commissioned Maser Engineering to conduct a feasibility study of our recreation facilities in the borough. They have done that. The commission is now breaking into subcommittees to review the different recommendations that they've made. They plan to have those reports done by the end of July, so I would expect at our next rec meeting in August, we'll review those written reports and be sharing with the council in some fashion their findings. As part of that feasibility study, they're going to be reviewing Recreation Director Conway's recent report she did on ADA compliance in our recreation facilities, and they'll consider that as part of the feasibility study. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everyone who made the 4th of July festivities as fabulous as always, specifically Bobby Conway and the 4th of July committee. Bobby and the committee always do a fantastic job of organizing the parade, making sure we have all the entertainment that we need for the 3rd and the 4th, and it was a lot of fun again. So just thank you to them. And again, everyone else, DPW who's there, police, for making sure everything went smoothly, especially the garden, the beer garden where everybody is. But just everybody came together to make it a fantastic event. I was at the car show on Sunday. It's always a fantastic event. I go with my dad every year. He comes up because he loves it and tells me pretty much, gives me a history every year about every car, because it seems like he owned every single one of those cars at some point in time. He's like, hey, you could get a car for $150, so, you know. So I had a bunch of them. So I enjoy going every year and seeing all the cars and everything like that. And then I tell my wife that I just took out a home equity loan so that I could buy one, and she thinks, ha ha ha, that's funny, but maybe one year I might actually do it. And I also went to the vintage baseball game. I was planning on going anyway, but I was, I guess, 3rd runner-up on the selection list for throwing out the first pitch. The mayor was unavailable. Councilman Papaleo went on the DL, and so I got to so I had to step up and throw out the first pitch, which was fun, but you also have to throw it underhand.
Oh, really?
Because the pitching back then was not overhand. You have to throw it underhand, and I'm told if you threw it overhand, you would get booed. So I did throw it underhand. I think this is the 3rd year I think I've gone to the game. I bring my kids, so it's always a lot of fun. But I recommend everybody go and check out what the Bergen County Historical Society has to offer. That's just one of the things.
It was very well attended, they said.
Yeah, about over 400 people or so. It was the largest crowd I think I saw there, and I also maybe found a new vendor for the farmer's market. I passed along that information.
Next week.
Great.
Really?
Yeah, they grill corn
Yes.
as their primary thing, and it was really good. They had like spicy corn in their original, which had like Parmesan cheese and some herbs, so that's the one I got. And then they also had a lobster. Yeah, lobster. Well, they put a piece of like lobster on top of the corn. It looked pretty good. Yeah, it looked pretty good. So I don't know, but the corn that I had was excellent. So I passed along their information to Councilwoman Davis. So I'm glad that they'll be part of the farmers market. And that's about all I got for right now. Unless anybody has questions about any of the subcommittee.
No. Council President Papaleo.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just want to echo what everybody has said. Kudos to all those in town who are involved in using the park, the 4th of July, the car show, the old-time baseball game, our pitcher, Newbridge Landing, and the Riverdale Police Department. I would like to say that Michelle and Beautification Committee is working hard all around town. I believe, Michelle, you were doing plantings today in this humidity, and God bless you, you should go straight to heaven. I wanted to report that the Shade Tree Commission has completed the treatment of our ash borer trees, and that DPW has found at least 3 emerald ash borer in our trees. So this was money well spent. It dealt with an immediate problem, and we have this infestation. Liz Stewart of our Shade Tree tells me that, that this treatment should last for 2 years. That if you treat before damage is done, then the survival of the trees is near 100. If you treat after damage begins to show, then you only have a 70% rate of saving. So this was something I want to thank the Shade Tree for bringing to our attention, and I want to commend the council for taking action on it. I also want to just thank the DPW for all the stuff that they do, the cleanup that goes on after all of our public events, that they do tirelessly and well. I also would like to inform the council, I don't think that the Superintendent of Public Works told me that there is a truck that he's thinking about adding to the budget for next year that he did not anticipate having to bring forward, because he gave us a general idea of what he was looking for, and that there will be a vendor on Thursday at around noon, and I will be going there and seeing the presentation of the new vehicle, and also John will be showing me the current state of the old vehicle. So I want to just keep you informed that that this is a possible budget item for next year's budget.
I believe that the sewer van.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be one of those situations where it's going to be, are we at a point where the repairs are more costly than to replace it?
Yeah, I think it's past its life, and I will actually give you a better report on its condition.
And I want to put Alan on the spot, but I believe that the recycling trust maybe actually we can use money towards that.
Well, that'd be awesome.
We can discuss that if you want to get the budget done.
And I'd like to close by saying if I was aggressive or inappropriate in any way, I apologize to the council. That was not my intention. I'd like to say to the public, so they know, I like everybody on this council, and I think everybody's doing a great job. The argument was the argument, but if I had been in any way inappropriate, I apologize for that.
Thank you. Councilman Davis.
I went to the Board of Health meeting on June 27th. I have a whole packet of things that they do and the inspections and everything else. It's amazing, this little group that we never hear anything about, how much work they do. They sent out letters to everybody, to all the food handlers in town, regarding all of the updates, and they also sent a letter to all of the vendors regarding, you know, the gloves and how you must operate. You don't wear one pair of gloves all day long, go to the bathroom, come back. So it was all spelled out, so they were all handed out today. And Patty Courts is president again, and Mary Gannon will be vice president this year. As far as the farmers market, they did great on July 4th. I mean, that won't happen again for 6 years, so, but every one of them wanted to be there, and it was a great day. And Al did send me the name of the corn guy, and the market manager contacted him yesterday, and he seemed very excited to come next week. Fire department, I saw a big story in the newspaper about New Milford getting a $194,000 grant, and that really bothered me because last year when I spoke about fire department getting a grant, I was told that it was only for paid fire departments. So I ran after Josh Gottheimer at the parade, and I had a conversation with him, and he told me to email him, and he gave me his card, which I turned over to Alan. And I also spoke to Eric, the fire chief, and he said that up until now, the state requires you to do all kinds of reports every year, and they were not up to date on them. So they could not apply. So now they are. So they're going to contact Alan, and hopefully maybe next year we'll be able to get something that was a lot of money, and we'll see what we can do. And I echo Cindy Bequeath's comments. We can say anything we want, but it's in the deliverance. And first time I sat on this dais, I said the only reason I took it was to try to bring everybody together and to get along. There's no reason why we can't have differing opinions and be able to express them, but not be yelling and screaming. So let's hope that was a one and done. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Canino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to also echo what everybody said about the 4th of July, about the terrific job that all of our town employees have done. The parade was fantastic. The party afterwards was great. It was great hanging out with friends and neighbors. The library board has asked me to read a letter. It's just a brief statement and just some questions. They provided it to me. What I'll do is I've made copies for the council and the mayor and everybody here at the dais. I'm just going to hand them out, and everybody can read it. It's about the new community center, but given that we're waiting to hear about from the subcommittee about what's going to happen and have a presentation, I think maybe it's best if I just hand out the letter and then the subcommittee can see what the issues are that the library is raising. Just very briefly, they will be they are working towards building a room within the library that may be duplicative with some of the things that the community center is doing. So they don't want to duplicate something if we're putting out money. So they would like their concerns, their thoughts listened to and obviously considered, and we can invite perhaps the library board at a future meeting to come and voice their concerns in person, if that's okay, or I can read it right now.
I think I had said this at a previous meeting. The intent will be, once we have a consensus concept on the council side, we will, the architect will probably meet with various stakeholder groups, library being one, obviously, rec commission would probably be another. I guess whoever we think would probably be the primary users of the space, and to get some feedback. The design will be the design, but obviously we'll take into account beforehand if there's anything that's raising a major design concern or design criteria. But we certainly want to make sure that everybody feels that they're going to be part of the process, because, like I said from the get-go here, we all need to come to a consensus. We all need to be on the same page with this, and we want to make sure that we put the best plan forward so we can actually accomplish something, and we don't want it to devolve into getting different groups feeling they're either isolated or kept out of the process. So that will be part of the process going forward. And obviously there'll be public engagement also. We're not going to just, you guys wouldn't expect us to just vote and approve a plan.
I think that was just the concern of the library board. They just wanted to make sure that there would be an opportunity for them to be heard.
And I've had discussions with Dan on some aspects of this as we've gone along, and if there's anything specific, you're always free to let us know. But,
well, this letter does have specific questions, so perhaps they can be addressed.
And certain things that can be addressed, certain things that can't, we'll see. So, anyway,
thank you.
I'll just echo everyone again. I think Councilman C was right. First week of July is always fun in the River Edge. One thing I found with the car show this year is, as I'm walking around and people from out of town were there, we had a lot of people from town. It was great seeing a lot of little kids with interest. I was talking to somebody, I said, I said in my little speech was that, I'm of the age where I remember these cars actually on the road. Not my kids, they haven't seen any of these cars except at a car show or on TV or in a movie. And I think some of that is lost. So it's good to see little kids coming in and getting that interest. But talking to some of the participants, they kept saying, this is the show they talk about. Yeah. And I said, I heard this several times, what is it? I said, there's probably dozens of car shows. And they said three things. They said they like the way it's organized, they love the setting, and they say that they think we have honest and fair judging. Who would have figured, right? But those are the three things that they look for. And so I think that's a testament to the success, you know, and the time and effort that the Cultural Center does, and that's why I think it's crucial for the governing body to keep this going the best we can, because it is a very popular event, and it certainly, it's a good reflection of the borough, and something that I said we should continue. I want to also congratulate our 6 new Eagle Scouts from Troop 2295. Captain Steve was chairing the preparing the Court of Honor. Jay Campbell, I remember Mark Edelstein, Bobby Garcia, Kenny Mason, Chris Krasinski, and Timmy Chu. Okay. Congratulations to those young men, and we expect to see one named Haggerty very shortly, and we'll hopefully we'll be at that Court of Honor as well. What else? We had talked about this briefly, probably wasn't even a work session. Mr. Councilman Papaleo had asked when we were actually going to go on TV. We've been talking about this again for a long time.
Yeah, that was before.
And we are slowly but surely working our way to being live on cable and on Verizon. There was some kind of obscure, ancient, almost analog part we had to find or something, which we did. And again, I'm hoping, I wouldn't say next month, but hopefully before the end of this calendar year, we will be able to live stream the meetings on public access. Similarly, we're working on upgrades to our website, which everybody admits we know we need. We're also looking to upgrade our email system, where we're actively working to do that. And also tonight, we have personnel subcommittee, and we've been talking a number of times, and the town council approved in the budget, a part-time person who we're going to, for lack of a better term, call a floater, who's going to assist various departments. And ostensibly, or actually the reason, the genesis of this was the Shade Tree Commission had asked for some secretarial support, and this person will provide some of that. But it's also anticipated that going forward, this person will also be able to be the person who will help us update our website, who can help us establish a borough Facebook page to get information out more readily to the residents. So I think these are all positive developments in the council trying to get information to the public and back and forth. Not to restart judgment, I was going back to your issue with the school board. There was a time when they would have somebody come to all our meetings as well. So I don't know when that has stopped, right? They would send somebody as their liaison too. So, you know, certainly something that they may want to reinstitute also. So I'm sure it wouldn't hurt for them to have someone come in and hear.
Yeah, but no, I'm really talking about just a general meeting.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying, but from other stuff that comes up
Yeah.
day to day, I don't, you know. I am a proponent of communication, and I think that's how you prevent issues from you know, it's a way to foster good solutions, I'll put it that way. So, I'm certainly in favor of that, and again, I will echo, I apologize also, like I said, I don't know, I mean, I've been here 6 years, I think we generally all get along very well, and again, including our newest councilman, and nothing personal again, I like everybody up here. I had great relationships with everybody, so I don't think.
To the extent that I was inappropriate in any way, I apologize
So
to
we
you,
will.
I apologize
We
to
will not. We will certainly
the
not
public.
let that happen again. So, with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.